Hi everybody, welcome back to the channel. This is going to be my reading wrap up for the month of October. It's a bit late because half term was last week, so Jennifer was off and I didn't get time to film anything at all. So these are the physical books I read. 6, but I did also read, let me just move that away, quite a few Kindle books. Like I said, I'll put the picture up here for each Kindle book. So the first one was a Kindle book and it's called Prismatic the Nonsuch and it's by Amber Clark. Now Amber Clark is a TikToker and that's how I found her book. She said that she had paid a influencer to review the book for her, but the influencer never did it properly. They never read the book and just did a very brief overview, and that costed £250. And I thought, no, that's just not on, especially as a book is available through Kindle Unlimited, so there's no excuse. So I went on and I downloaded it. I'm going to do a review on TikTok, I just haven't got around to it yet. But basically in Gardaphel, King Judas looks down on lowborns and people with magic, hates those with magic, completely hates them. Though he is happy to use those who possess it for his own ends. Nalania and her family are lowborn, they're the lowest. And her sister and her break curfew one day and end up accidentally killing the king's most powerful magician or witch or warlock, whatever you want to call him. So now they're after him, but Aurora, her sister, is very, very special in that she has a very special power that the king wants. So Nalania has to learn how to use magic, which her parents have tried to protect her from, to keep her safe, to save her sister and depose the king because he hates magic and wants to destroy those that he can't use for his own purposes. So those who are against him. I really enjoyed it. I actually gave it 5 stars. I thought it was an absolutely brilliant book. I cried, I laughed, I you know, my heart raced. It was such a good book. So I'll put, like I said, the pictures up here. Do go and get it. Like I said, it's possibly still on Kindle Unlimited, but go and have a look. It's definitely worth it. It's such a good book. The next book I read was House of Whispers by J.L. Bryan. This is another one of the Ellie Jordan Ghost Trapper series. So Ellie and her team are called to the Lathrop Hotel as the ghost situation there has gone manic. They know it's haunted. It's one of the most haunted places in the area. But most of the ghosts are benign. However, something has gone wrong and the benign ghosts have disappeared, and suddenly there's this evil presence on the 3rd floor which nobody is allowed to go to. They discover that somebody has been up there and taken one of the benign ghosts, who's keeping all the bad ghosts in check, away. It's not good. So Ellie and Stacey and everybody else involved get involved. They just go and find out what's going on, and they obviously sort out the issue. It's really good. I love this series. There's like 20 odd books and I'm only on book 8, I think. 7? I've got 7 and 8. The second again, J.L. Bryan, Maze of Souls, Ellie Jordan again. This time they go to investigate the haunting of an old farm. So this old farm has been taken over by a relative of the original owners. He's inherited it and they're trying to make it sort of a working farm attraction. So they've got like a corn maze and pumpkin patches and a ghost train. They're going to have all this Halloween stuff, but they've got ghosts and these ghosts are not happy. These ghosts are not happy because they don't feel it's been inherited by a member of the family because he was adopted. He's not blood relative. So they do obviously go capture these ghosts and sort out the problem thing. But a ghost from Ellie's past turns up, Anton LeCay turns up, takes possession of her boyfriend Michael, and all goes to hell. These books get 5 stars from me, both of them did, because I absolutely adored them. The House That Horror Built by Christina Henry. Now I like Christina Henry, I read The Ghost Tree and I absolutely loved The Ghost Tree. In this one, a single mum named Henry, she works for a famous film director in Chicago. He's moved from Los Angeles to Chicago to escape publicity after his son and his wife disappeared. His son was a bit of a wayward child and was accused of murdering his girlfriend, an actress I think, or a model, and so they disappeared. He now lives in Chicago and is reclusive, and Henry cleans for him. Henry has a son named Gabe. and they become involved with this man because Henry's about to lose her house, and he says, you can move in here for the time being so you find something else. So they do, but all is not as it seems. He collects memorabilia of his films and other films, not just his, and has it on display, and one of her jobs is to help him clean it. And there's one in a particular costume in the Blue Room which she doesn't like from one of his films, and she sees it moving. When she cleans upstairs, there are 3 guest bedrooms, but one guest bedroom is always locked and she's not allowed to clean it. And when she's in the room next to it, she can hear muffled thumping, banging, and somebody calling for help. I gave it 3 stars. The reason is I figured out what was going on way before the end. I figured out what was in the room. I figured out what was going on with the costume. I enjoyed it. It's well written. But it's an easy prediction, especially for me. I just found that too easy to predict the ending of. But it was still enjoyable. The next one was another ebook, and this was called Maria's Walk. This tells the story, and it's a classic style ghost story, of a girl who was murdered years ago and now haunts the area in which she was killed. And her name's Maria. So a young man comes home after his parents die, and moves back into the house and sorts out their funeral and does all that. Meets an old friend's sister, and they start getting on. This old friend's sister is slightly psychic, and she sees things, and she works for an estate agent. However, Maria is a legend in the area, and she walks this path. After mysterious disappearances and deaths of some of her co-workers, and she sees one of them in the funeral home when they're attending another funeral. They and I'm trying to put it into words, find out as much as they can about Maria, who she was and what happened to her, which was horrific. So she was murdered. I'm not going to tell you all of it because it's a really good story, and now her spirit has been possessed by some sort of demonic thing that's killing people. It's not Maria herself, it's this demonic being, and they want to try and save her spirit and set it free, and also stop the killings. And again, it was a 5-star. It was just so very, very good. I really enjoyed it. I'm really stumbling with words today. They're not wording. The Birds and Other Short Stories by Daphne du Maurier. I've been wanting this edition for ages. I think it's stunning. Managed to get it. So, The Birds. We all know the film The Birds by Alfred Hitchcock, which is set in somewhere in California. Can't think of what it's called. But this is obviously the original short story, which is definitely not long enough to make a film from, so I can see why it was changed. Set in Daphne du Maurier's beloved Cornwall, this tells the story of a farmer and his family who are terrorised by birds. And they're not the only ones. The farmer, realising that something was wrong, I think he's a farmer or a fisherman, something like that, with the birds, protects his house. He barricades them in every time he knows there's going to be a bird attack. And he knows this because it's linked to the tides. He tries to warn people, but they don't listen. So he barricades themselves in. They listen to the radio, what's going on. The government are trying to sort it out, but they can't. And then when the bird attack finally stops, they go outside and find everybody else is dead because nobody knew what to do. And they just randomly stop as well. It's really bizarre. It's really more scary than the film. It's really more terrifying. And there are other stories in this, and I can't remember any of them offhand because I read so much. Let me just have a look at the titles. Oh, yes. There's one about a mountain that claims women as sort of like priestesses. The Apple Tree, The Little Photographer, Kiss Me Again, Stranger, and The Old Man. It is such a lovely book. Even if you don't get this edition, they're really good short stories. I gave it 4 stars, so definitely worth checking out. Stephen King, Holly. I've been waiting for this to come out all year so I could get it. So Holly Gibney is back. This time she's investigating the disappearance of a girl named Bonnie Dahl who's gone missing. She is not the first. A few other people have gone missing pretty much every year for the last 10 or so years. A few blocks away from Bonnie disappeared live Professors Rodney and Emily Harris. They are semi-retired lifelong academics, but they are not all they seem. This book is horrific. It's not horror in the sense of a ghost story or vampires, but it just shows you how horrific humans can be to each other when they want to be, when they think there's something into them. Oh, it was such a good story. Again, 4 stars. Stephen King, where he gets all his ideas from, I don't know. I believe next year's book is another Holly one. Can't remember what it's called. It has got a title, but I can't remember. The Toll House, this was a good one. I gave this one 4 stars as well. And this is by Carly Reagan, who is a senior lecturer of English, I believe, in Cardiff University, just up the road from me. Her new book is out. I'm going to be getting it at some point. So this tells the story of a young woman with a son who moves into old toll houses. Now, old toll houses, if you're not in the UK, are like modern tolls in the fact that you have to pay a toll to go along a particular road to get into town. And this is something that you see these toll houses all around the UK, and they're now private residences. So she moves into this old toll house. His son starts playing up. He sees a mysterious figure of a woman in the bedroom. You do know who the woman is. It tells you at the beginning it was a previous person who lived there who died after childbirth or giving birth to her child. Her child also died and her husband was struck with grief because of it. She keeps appearing to the boy. Dylan, her son, throws a big tantrum and one day throws a pot at the kitchen wall, which is just a plasterboard wall, and the pot puts a hole in it. While looking at the hole thinking, oh, this is just a plasterboard wall, we could take it down and extend the kitchen. Fair enough. They discover a death mask behind the wall. And I'm sure you all knew what death masks are, but if you don't, in the past when people died, they would cover their face with plaster and make a mask. That's how Madame Tussauds made her mannequins. And we know from the story that the husband had a death mask made of his wife, Bella, because he wanted to keep her with him forever in some sort of way. As it progresses, we learn a lot more about Bella and her husband's descent into madness after the death of his wife. We also learn a lot more about Dylan and his mother, and it's crazy. And there's a brilliant twist. I loved this. This was a really good one. I'm not going to tell you the twist. You have to go and read it yourself. Another ebook, Borrowed Time by Adrian Cousins. This is another one in the Jason Apsley series. However, this time Beth is in charge. That's his daughter, adopted daughter. So, when Carlton King, who died in the last book, comes knocking on their door in 2016, I think, they're all a bit surprised. But of course he was in that yellow Cortina that time travels and you cannot destroy at all. Beth gets into the car with him and they get killed in an accident, and she ends up back in the 90s, the night that Carlton actually was killed. Not only that, that was the night that she pushed one of the Colney brothers off the top of a building. So they're wondering now, will the fact that there are 2 Beths in the same place cause some sort of paradox and destroy the world? It doesn't, because that would be boring and they wouldn't be. And she now has to live there. But they also have to sort something out because somebody is killing people off, including Martin, another time traveller's mother, who's not his mother in this life, but it's a really confusing bit of the story, so don't worry about it. So they want to try and stop that from happening, and they have to figure out who it is. So, and that's what they do. Again, they're lovely stories. This one was confusing but brilliant. 4 stars. Stephen King, The Dark Half, yes, another Stephen King this month because it is October. We go off of those now in a minute. The Dark Half by Stephen King is the story about a writer named Thad Beaumont who, when he hits a writer's block after his first novel, starts writing under the name of George Stark, and the novels he writes under that name are a lot darker, a lot creepier, and very, very nasty. Somebody tries to blackmail him because they need money, to say that I know you're George Stark, and if you don't give me money, I'm going to tell everybody. So they decide, right, now's the time to kill him off. So they arrange a shoot with People magazine where they put up a mock grave in a graveyard in Castle Rock, Maine, and basically have a funeral for George Stark. And they put his name and dates on there, and he was not a very nice man, because he's not. However, things start happening. People start dying. Who gets the blame? Thad Beaumont. His DNA, not that they had DNA there, but his fingerprints are all over the crime scene. How is this possible? He's got an ironclad alibi. Yeah, this one was creepy, but I love it. It was 4 stars. I do love a bit of Stephen King, and this is one I hadn't read, and I really enjoyed that. Thad Beaumont is a bit of a wimp, but he gets better as it goes on. There are birds in there. It's very Daphne du Maurier. It's quite creepy. I'll never look at starlings in the same way again. Is it starlings or sparrows? Whichever one it is. I think it's starlings. I'll never look at them the same way again. The next book I read was The Book of Kindness. This is a Kindle book by Stephanie Butland. This is actually a NetGalley ARC that I received in exchange for a fair and honest review, which I haven't written yet, but I will be very, very soon. This tells the story of a girl named September. She inherits a house and money from an aunt she didn't know existed. She was adopted as a baby, but her aunt knew about her, blood aunt knew about her, and therefore wrote a will saying she wanted her grandniece to inherit it all. That is permissible. If she hadn't left a will, she would not have inherited, because she is not classed as a relative, which is always one of the things that annoyed me with ghosts, because she was adopted yet she inherited, which she wouldn't have, because never mind. Anyway, she realises when she inherits her boyfriend was stealing from her over the years, so she just moves into that house in Harrogate that her aunt let her, and looks for information about her real family. Her aunt's family and hers, and what happened to her when she was a child. It's really sad. It's tragic what happened to her. It should never have happened to her. But she makes friends with all of her aunt's friends, and she runs a book club from a house. So she takes over the book club, and she meets some great people that way, and decides to stay in Harrogate, but in the end sell the house and buy a flat that she prefers. Make her own way, which is what her aunt would have wanted. She does find a love of books. She does not a reader at the beginning of this, but at the end she is, which is really nice. We like those. And that was a 4-star read. There was a lot of 4 stars this month. And the last book I read was The Cake Shop in the Garden, Carol Matthews. I started this in September, and I put it down because I wanted to read as much horror as I could till I was all horrored out. And I read this one, and this tells the story of this girl named Faye who runs a tea room from her house by the canal and her houseboat, while she looks after her mother, who is just a lazy cow. Her mother broke her hip, and although the doctors and surgeons said she's fine, she's back and walking, she has not got out of bed since and has made herself ill and bedridden. She has a boyfriend who is sort of a bit of a meh, but then Danny turns up. Danny is on a canal boat. He basically was a big guy in the city in London, decided he didn't want to do it anymore, he was getting burnt out, so he bought a canal boat and he just disappeared. He just decided to travel up the canals of England and, you know, and see what he can do, and he turns up and she starts falling in love with him. They want her to stop being a doormat, but this does not happen. But when her mother dies, her life is turned entirely upside down. Her sister comes home and yeah, hits the fan. I enjoyed this one, but I did want to slap her, because it's like, nobody's that bad. I mean, my mum's got a broken hip. She's in hospital recovering at the moment now. She's at times refused to do a physio, and I've told her, look, if you don't sort this out and get it done, I'm through with you. I'm not doing it. I'm not looking after you. I can't look after you. I've got my kid to look after. And she is, to be honest, I think what did it for her is I told her, if you don't, you'll end up in a home, and Chris will never come home again because he'll have nowhere to stay, because I can't put him up. I ain't got space. Not very nice, but sometimes you've got to be firm, and she wants to get home. But anyway, that's another story. If you're interested, I can always make a video about how she's getting on later. But those are all the books. Yep. I read in October. We're into November and I'm doing really well already. I have got 21 books left to read of my Goodreads challenge. It's November the 8th, I want to say, or the 9th, but I don't even know what the date is. And if you're thinking, oh God, you'll never do that, believe me, I will. The way I read, I will. I will, don't worry. That's it for now. I hope to see you again really, really soon. There'll be more videos coming as and when. Happy reading, everybody. I'll see you soon. Bye.